Let's get ready to rumble!
Hello and welcome to episode 200 of Netflix versus Cinema. We can't believe it ourselves. This has snuck up on us and we have done absolutely nothing special for our 200th episode. So maybe a 201st. If you're listening to this and you think, oh, I need to get in touch with something. Get in touch with suggestions of what we can do to mark our 200th episode after it's already gone. And maybe we'll do something. Maybe we'll know in time for 250. Anyway, my name is Tosin, and I am host of Netflix vs. Cinema. I am based up in the Midlands, somewhere near Birmingham. And joining me as always on the Isle of Wight are Sharon Bollen.
Hello.
Shaun Harris.
Hello.
And all the way from London, our London correspondent, Holly Nesling.
Hello.
Yes. I was thinking, so 200 episodes. What do you guys think we should have done if we had thought about this in time?
We should have done our top 200 films. No.
You see, that was the problem I had. I was like, something to do with the number 200. I was like, heck no, I am not doing that.
No, that's it. We could have done maybe. Oh no, that wouldn't work.
I reckon we could have done a collective watch of something classic.
Ooh.
Maybe something from our first show.
Oh, good Lord. What did we do on our first show? Okay, cool.
I don't remember.
I'm going to have to go back because if I remember correctly, I mean, over the last 200 episodes, the format has changed a little. It's still been the whole thing. I remember the first ever show that we did was Shaun and I talking about the rules because we said, okay, what are going to be the rules of Netflix versus cinema? What are we going to do? Because once we came up with the idea, we immediately saw some problems. Like you could just sort of like go, you know what? This is Shaun goes, I love Fury. Fury is my best film ever. I will watch Fury every single week, and I will come in and say, I have watched Fury. It is brilliant. Nothing in cinema beats Fury this week. So we had things like the first thing was the rules like it has to be something you haven't seen before. It has to be, and if you're going to bring a TV show to compare to a film, you have to watch the entire season of the TV show. And there was one other one, but I cannot remember what it was. So that was it. But okay, looking back on it, our first proper show where we actually did, and then we ended up having just like loads and loads and loads of things, and then we eventually cut it down to what we have now, where we say three things in cinema, 3 things at home, make it nice and easy. But the first show we did was called Aquaman versus Godless. Welcome.
Oh, I saw Godless.
Yes.
I've seen Aquaman.
I saw Aquaman, yeah. Welcome to Marwen versus July 22.
Oh, that was me.
Yeah, if you remember, yeah. Okay, I remember I saw Welcome to Marwen, and I don't remember seeing July 22. That was the Paul Greengrass thing about the guy who killed a whole bunch of people on an island at a youth retreat.
I saw that.
Yes, Sharon, I remember you talking about that.
The Norwegian one, yeah. I saw that.
Yeah, The Favourite, that was one of the first. I remember that was round about when Netflix was really trying to push and say we're going to make Oscar-worthy films and everything like that. I remember that was one of the big ones that they did. Paul Greengrass going in there. The Favourite versus To All the Boys I've Loved Before. Now, I watched To All the Boys.
You watched that one.
I watched To All the Boys I've Loved Before, and I think you and Shaun watched The Favourite because I still haven't seen The Favourite.
I still haven't seen The Favourite. I think that was Shaun.
Yeah.
That was me then.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah. I haven't seen that in a while.
Yeah, and Mary Poppins Returns versus A Prayer Before Dawn.
I definitely saw Mary Poppins Returns.
And Shaun saw A Prayer Before Dawn. I remember that. I remember that. So that was our first show 4 years ago because we do roughly about
4 years ago.
Yeah, 4 years ago. And bearing in mind that this is the third podcast that Sharon, Shaun, and myself have done. Yeah, I've done. That means that we've been doing this for almost 10 years. We've been talking about films on a Thursday night for almost 10 years. It is crazy. I mean,
that's nuts.
It is a bit nuts. And I know, Holly, last week you were sort of like going, hang on, we've known each other for about 23 years. And that is mind-boggling. But the fact that we have been sitting down on a Thursday evening and talking about films for almost 10 years is equally nuts to me. it is equally nuts. But yeah, and if I had time and if I thought about this, I would actually have gone back and found the first show that Holly. Well, I know the first show Holly showed up on, and that was during COVID. It was during the lockdown.
We did an interview with you.
When we did the interviews and we're asking people 4 questions. I actually think have a fondness for those shows, even though we had no cinema.
Yeah.
Where we went and we asked people 4 questions. We asked them, what was the first film you ever saw in cinema? What was your favorite film of all time? What are you most looking forward to seeing when cinemas reopen? And the final question was, why cinema? What do you think makes cinema so great?
Yeah.
And yeah, we had some really, really good interviews there. I know that was the first one, but I don't remember what the first one was.
We did a Charlie's Angels one, the two of us.
Yes,
as a special.
Yes.
We did a Charlie's Angels sort of feminism in cinema sort of.
Because I saw Charlie's
Angels as the springboard. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw Charlie's Angels, and I thought.
Neither of us wanted to see it.
Yeah, I saw Charlie's Angels like, I need to speak to a woman about this. I need to speak to a woman about this. I mean, just before we pressed record, we were talking about, weirdly enough, we were talking about Disney and Song of the South. And I was talking about how the fact that there's a whole bunch of people who decide that something is offensive without ever speaking to the people who are supposed to be offended by the thing that is offensive. They just decide, no, that's it. Oh, that's racist. To who? To black people. Have you spoken to a black person about it? No, but obviously it's racist. And I saw Charlie's Angels, and I thought, I need to speak to a woman. I need to get a woman on this thing to talk about this. So I know, Holly, you came on and you did that with us, but your actual first regular show with us, I can't figure out what it was. But we'll have to go back. Oh my God, we did a WandaVision spoilerific show. Good Lord, there was a lot of stuff. We've done a lot of stuff. But this is all you can go and you can search and you can find out what the films are that we've done. But happy 200, everyone.
Happy 200.
Happy 200. That's it. If you are a regular listener, if you have a favorite show, please do let us know what it is. So I know that we do have some regular listeners. We have Taiwo, we have superfan Nina. Tell us what your favorite episode is that we did, or the favorite moment that we have done in our last 200 shows. I know that there was one particular one where Taiwo was talking about Shaun, me imitating a truck backing up as Shaun kept, I can't remember what show was reviewed, but Shaun was talking about something, and he kept getting really close to a spoiler and going, oh no, can't say that. Oh no, can't say that. It was like a truck just back. It was like a truck backing going beep, beep, beep. Shaun backing away from spoilers. But yeah, tell us what it is. Tell us what your favorite thing is. And even if you are a recent listener, like Holly, are we ready for this?
Yep.
Are we ready for this? Are we ready for this? Drum roll. John from Holly's place of work, who is a recent regular listener, so much so that he listened to our Barbenheimer show last week, and he has requested more Barbie. He enjoyed the Oppenheimer review, and he says more Barbie. And now, John, I don't know who you think you are. Just because you work with Holly, you think you can come onto this show and you can dictate what it is we talk about. Well, the truth is, yes, you can. Because of the number of listeners that we have at the moment, the size of podcast that we are, tell us what you want and we will try and do something. So we are not going to go through what we said again last week, but because we feel like Barbie, funnily enough, out of Oppenheimer and Barbie is the film that it's like, you don't want to give away spoilers for anything. But now we have had Sharon and Shaun watch Barbie. So, and we wanted to know what you guys thought about it. So before we go into the films we actually have watched this week, tell us about Barbie and Oppenheimer. Tell us about Barbie, what you thought about Barbie.
Okay.
You start them.
Okay, so I mean, I wasn't going to bother because from the trailer looked absolutely awful, and it was something I thought, well, I'm not going to bother. But because you guys were going on about it so much, I thought, and Tosin in particular, you were saying, I think you'll find this interesting, Shawnee. I think you'll find this interesting.
I like to point. I did not say I think you'd like it. I said I think you find it interesting.
Interesting, yeah, that's it. That exactly, yeah. I think you'd find this interesting. So
still need to do the summary though, in case anybody didn't hear the last episode.
The summary of what Barbie is about?
Yes, just because somebody might not have listened to the last episode and may walk into this blank.
Okay.
So
fine.
Okay, in a nutshell, unless one of you guys want to do it. Okay. Anyway, so it's Barbie Land. There's Barbie Land, and Barbie decides that she suddenly has this crisis of a little bit of a meltdown and decides she's going to go and find out. She keeps having these visions, so she decides that she's going to go into the real world and find out why she's having all these. These
thoughts of death.
So death Barbie so I went to see this, and I have to say it was much better than I thought.
Yeah, okay, cool, good stuff.
I was really quite. I thought it was. Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed it, and I really liked it when they sort of changed the Barbies. Oh, we got, and they had those little montages between. You know what I mean, with the
okay, yeah. The bit where they take the Barbies one by one into a truck, and then they say something to them, and then there's
we'll have this Barbie and that Barbie and that. So yeah, I quite enjoyed it, although I did start to get a little bit fed up towards the end. I got to be honest, I did think it was, you know, and I mean, I don't like Will Ferrell anyway. At the time, so but yeah, that is another one like the others.
Another one.
So yeah, but on the whole, I thought it was okay. It was interesting, and I really did enjoy some moments of it. There were some great moments, and I thought the Kens were good. You know what I mean? And,
the multiple Kens.
Yeah. And I mean, as I say, although I started to towards the end get a little bit antsy, should we say? But I did think that the musical bit, when the musical bit with the, you know, with the Kens.
Yeah.
I thought that was quite cool. So yeah. So on the whole, yeah, it was pretty good, and I would have given this a 3-star. Whereas, so it was better than I was expecting.
All right, cool. Sharon.
Yeah, I think I went into it expecting it to be almost like a girl's version of Elf. Where instead of Elf going into the real world, it was like Barbie going into the real world, and that was my expectation of it. And to some degree, it was like these innocents abroad.
Yes.
But then, unlike Elf, where he maintained that innocence throughout, and even though sort of awful things happened, fundamentally, you know, he stayed true to what he'd always been. He was like this pure soul.
Yeah.
Whereas I think this was like that awakening almost of that transition between almost like the loss of innocence and that realization that there's more to the world than you thought.
Yeah.
And I think how once that door's opened, you can't get back through it. Whereas, you know, that sort of compare and contrast where Alf, he never lost that sort of pure heartedness and that innocence.
Yes.
Barbie, her eyes are opened. And it's interesting to see how once someone's eyes are opened, you can't sort of put them back in the box again. And so I thought that was interesting, and I thought it's far more nuanced, and there was far more layers to it than I was expecting.
Yeah.
And even there's one bit I was almost thinking, is this like almost spiritual? Is this like, are we having a Roy Batty moment where he's like meeting his creator? Are we having, you know?
Oh yes, I know which video you're talking about. Yeah.
So I thought it was far more nuanced than I was expecting it to be. And as you said after, you know, when you watched it, you know, it was, of all the films we watched, when we watched this sort of the Barbenheimer sort of dance off, that you weren't expecting the Barbie one to be the one that you thought about more than you did. And there were sort of really lots of layers and quite big, hefty topics in there, actually, that I wasn't expecting them to face. Because in the audience when I was there, a group of women came in with all their children. There was like loads of really small children in the audience. And afterwards I was thinking, what on earth would they have made of that? They probably took in the singing and the dancing, but I'm thinking, would they understand any of the existential elements of the whole thing?
Hopefully not the double entendres in there.
No, there were a few of them in there. Yeah, some of the dance moves, and you think, oh, okay. And some of the entendres were there.
Yes, not even double in some cases.
Yeah, it was just like, it's there. But yeah, I thought that, to me, the tone of it was right. The fact that, you know, she doesn't know how to drink out of a glass because she never has anything in. You know, or she's always sort of just done, and there's nothing ever in it. So, and, you know, her feet have never touched the ground. There's things like that, you know, sort of part of those things are in the trailer, so it's not a spoiler. But yeah, I thought it was far more nuanced than I was expecting it to be, and it was far more of a grown-up film than I was expecting it to be.
Yeah.
Because, you know, when you look at it, it's a 12. You're thinking, oh, this is definitely going to be like kiddie friendly. But in some ways, I thought this isn't actually a film for children at all. It's apart from the dance number at the beginning, this is not a children's film. This is actually very sort of adult, and there's sort of some ways it's quite a serious film.
It is.
And I thought it was, far more complicated than we were led to believe when it first sort of hit our screens. Whether that was intentional or not, I don't know. Whether they wanted to go, it's Barbie, it's Alf in pink, you'll love it. It's Mamma Mia for the, it's going to be that feel good, take all your friends and dress up sort of film.
Yeah.
And it's thinking, when I was sat there thinking, all the girls and those girls in the audience who were dressed up when I went to see it, I thought, what on earth are you making of all this? This is not the film that you were sold. But I didn't think it was detracted for all that. I thought the fact that it turned out to be a sort of much more grown-up film than I was expecting, it was really, really interesting to me.
Did we talk last week about the Greta Gerwig refusing to shift her position on it? I can't remember if we talked about it or I had that conversation somewhere else.
I think that might have been somewhere else. I did not remember this conversation at all.
So apparently, Greta Gerwig had asked if she would do it, and she said yes, and she came up with, this is the film I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And then there was a suggestion of, well, no, could you change this bit? She said, no, I'm doing this, or you can get someone else to do it. Could you change this? No, I'm going to do this, or you can get somebody else to do it. And she wasn't prepared to budge from, this is the film I want to make. You want me to do Barbie? This is how I do Barbie.
Yeah, and I respect that, and I think the film is better for that, because you can see essentially the fact that Mattel are the ones who commissioned this film, and the way Mattel are treated in this film, you can immediately see all the conversations that would have been had, that would have been had about, are you sure we shouldn't do this? And the fact that it was Greta Gerwig, from the word go, I was like, this is not going to be a normal film. It is not going to be a normal film. It is not going to be Barbie Dream House Saves America. It is not going to be that. No. And but I keep bumping into people. And when I asked them about Barbie, there was someone who was asking me about it like at tennis. And when we were talking about Barbie, so it was us two men, and one of the older men was like, "What? Barbie? You're going to watch Barbie?" And I was like, 100% we're going to watch Barbie. This is no... And the guy who I was talking with, Jack said, he was like, I was like, what do you see Barbie? I was like, yeah, I did. So what do you think? And he said, you know what? Thinking about it a couple of days later, I like it more than I thought I did immediately after I finished watching the film. And that it's a reaction that I've seen. I had that reaction. Holly, you had that reaction. And I've seen a lot of people have that reaction where after the film finishes, you're kind of like, it's almost kind of like what was that? And then a couple of days later, it reminds me of, Shaun, you remember Mother?
Yeah, I remember Mother. Yeah.
I remember that was a very similar thing. And I was never expecting I would be comparing Barbie to Mother. But after, remember watching Mother and you're like, what the hell was that? And then after like 2 or 3 days later, you're like, that was actually a good film. That was a really good film. And it's a little bit like that with Barbie, where I'm thinking, while you're watching, I don't think the story hangs together as well as you're watching it. I feel like it's a bit disjointed in places and it doesn't really flow. But then afterwards, you kind of go, but they actually try to do quite a bit of stuff in there. But anyway, John, I hope that's enough for you. We've done some more Barbie. The next step, John, will be that you go watch Barbie and then you can come tell us what you think. Yeah. How about that?
I'd like to add that another thing that has actually made me appreciate Barbie more has been the endless memes and videos that I've been sent over the last week, which have actually been quite joyous and genuinely funny and have made me again feel fonder of it.
I'll tell you what, I think anytime a film creates a moment, like a genuine moment that people actually engage with and start talking about and everything, I'm really happy. And I said, I put up a thing on YouTube as a short of just us, and it was just essentially me talking. It's like a 6-second clip of our review, and it was me saying, I don't really care about star reviews this week because cinema. and I hold up with that because cinema. And so I love what Barbie and Oppenheimer have done in tandem. And I know that the Mattel have now said, we have so many more toys we want to make films of. Which kind of Yeah, yes, it kind of fills me with dread. It kind of fills.
It's made a lot of money, isn't it? And
it's gone over half a billion, so it's over $500 million the other week. So it's made a lot of money. So Mattel have a whole bunch of. I think they're trying to do like how Disney have all these theme park rides, or have Disney have all these things that they want.
Did they do G.I. Joe?
I think G.I. Joe is Mattel.
Right.
No. It can't be. I don't think it is. I don't think it is because G.I. Joe and Transformers are the same people. So I don't think G.I. Joe is Mattel. No.
Oh, that'll be. Oh no, that's Hasbro, isn't it?
Yes. Yes, that's Hasbro. That's Hasbro. Yeah.
I would just say, not on that note, but I think whoever did the casting, some of the cameo casting was absolute genius. I'm just thinking of like the Sugar Daddy Ken or whatever his name was. I think that was just pure unadulterated joy.
Can someone explain to me?
That tiny
somebody explain to me,
cameo
Alan? That's all I want to know.
Alan
Alan was an actual doll.
Right.
Alan was an actual doll because that the thing about it is that if you know your Mattel stuff, there's loads of Easter eggs in the film. So Alan was an actual doll. Midge was an actual doll. Yeah. Growing up Skipper was, so they made a pregnant doll. Growing up Skipper was an actual doll. So there's the scene in it where America Ferrera goes to the Skipper and raises her hands, and as she raises her hands, her boobs grow bigger. This was an actual doll that Mattel made. So little girls will take this doll, raise the doll's hand. As you raise the doll's hands, the doll's boobs grow bigger. so yeah, and I think even in the credits, they actually go through a lot of the different Barbies. They actually did make this stuff. They actually did make this stuff. So we must move on.
Yes, we got to. Yeah.
And then kudos for the clip. There's a clip from a certain well-known BBC television programme in there. Kudos for showing that clip. That I think has.
Please, don't make any others.
But don't make any more, please.
No. Mattel are going to. They are going to make any others, and I think the only if there's any lesson that they should have, they should take whatever toy it is and give it to a filmmaker who is going to do something crazy with it, like Greta Gerwig has done with Barbie. So if they're going to say, right, we're going to take Snakes and Ladders, but we're going to give it to Yorgos Lanthimos, who did The Favourite, do something with Snakes and Ladders, then I'm like, okay, I would be interested to see what he comes up with at least. It would be better than giving it to... I don't want to disparage any director, but usually what tends to happen is that they'll find...
You don't want a puff piece.
Yeah, exactly. They'll find somebody who usually does a whole bunch of hip-hop videos that are just all about... Essentially, give it to somebody who's directed a Fast and Furious movie. and then James Wan might do something.
Give it to Christopher Nolan. Why not?
Yes.
Well, I was just thinking exactly the same thing. Let's see what that comes up with.
Yeah, give it to Christopher Nolan, see what he comes up with. But okay, cool. Let us move on. Let's move on.
Magic 8. They did Magic 8 Ball.
Magic 8. I think that's actually a plan to make that a movie. But I think that if they're going to do a Magic 8 Ball movie, it needs to be a horror movie.
That sense, it has to be a horror.
It has to be a horror movie, and they need to give it to Mike Flanagan. Mike Flanagan, Magic 8 Ball movie, he would make something freaky as hell, which would probably be a little bit like one of the films we might get to talk about this week because we've been bagging for Barbie for so long. So we might get to talk about this film that Shaun has seen. But let's go quick. And let's go with the films we're going to talk about this week. We're going to talk about Elemental. Elemental is going to be the film that I'm going to kick off with. Now, this is the latest Pixar movie. And if you listen to this show anywhere, you know that I am kind of the resident animation expert. So we all have a thing. I love animation. Shaun hates certain actors. Shaun hates Stanley Tucci. Doesn't like Jason Clarke. He doesn't like Cillian Murphy. So yeah, must have loved a lot of those scenes in Oppenheimer.
I did say. I think in the review I did say that's his best. That's the best I've seen him. I did say that.
You did say that's the best you've seen them both. Is this the best you've seen them both?
You were saved from Stanley Tucci.
Stanley Tucci. He was one of the few people in Hollywood who was not in Oppenheimer. So
that's his sister-in-law, Emily Blunt.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, still
so his family members in there. Yeah,
6 degrees of separation. 6 degrees of separation. And Sharon hates animation, and I am at the opposite end of the spectrum to Sharon on that. Love animation. So Pixar this is the latest film, and I think to to cut through quickly, this is kind of like Pixar's latest rom-com. So Pixar are known for doing really, really high concept things. Like, what if the monsters that kids are scared of at night are actually real and come out of the cupboard at night, but they live in their own world? That's Monsters, Inc. What if, like, you know, all the emotions in the little girl's head are actually personified by this sort of anthropomorphic things, like, you know, represent the different emotions, and then they make a really, really great film about pretty much a mental breakdown. That's what. And this film is all about. It's called Elemental because there's a place called Element City, and in this city you have the four elements. So you have water, wind, earth, and fire, and they all live in this city. However, fire are the immigrants. They show this city as being a city of, like, nobody originally came from here, and the film starts off with, originally the water people arrived, and after a while the wind people arrived, and after the wind people arrived, then the earth people arrived, and then the fire people are the last to arrive. And the fire people, when they arrive, they're kind of like almost outcast. They're not really allowed to live in the city because everything is built for the water people, because the water people were there first, and the fire people have to sort of set up their own, because if they get close to the water person, it kills them, because essentially the water puts out the fire. So they have to set up their own sort of like fire township, so to say. And I use that word very particularly for set up a fire township outside the city. And it carries on with this whole thing as this immigrant family that come in there. They have a kid. The kid grows up, and it's about her wanting to take over from to take over her dad's business, which he set up for the five people to congregate around, which was a shop. And it's about her trying to do that, but she keeps having this really, really explosive temper and burning everything. And one day, while she has one of her fits, a water guy comes through the pipes. Like, she bursts the pipes in the house. A water guy comes into the pipes. He works for the city, and he says he has to sort of write them up. So much so, there becomes this whole thing of, oh, I don't like you. Oh, you're trying to close my family things down. It's a rom-com. This becomes a rom-com, and it becomes about the almost Romeo and Juliet type romance that develops between a water guy and a fire girl. And that is pretty much all you really need to know, because I feel like this is a lot more straightforward than a lot of stuff that Pixar has done. When they've done the high concept stuff, like I still think Inside Out is a high watermark of what Pixar have done when it comes to high concept and everything like that. But this is not up to that level. It is pretty much just a rom-com. So you go through all the different things that go in a rom-com. There's the meet cute, there's the meet the parents, there's the obstacle they have to overcome. There is a version of a mad dash to the airport at the end of it. And in there's a very obvious message about race and about othering and about the different people and about how you accept different people and about whether it's possible or whether sometimes the differences are just too much to overcome. Because, like, you know, with fire people, they are destructive just by their nature. If they come close to a tree, the tree is burning. And so all in all, I would give Elemental a 3 out of 5 because I thought it wasn't top tier Pixar, but there were some good things in there. But you finish it and you kind of go, yeah, good try, but nah, not really. So 3 stars I would give Elemental. Now, we are going to go over to Holly, and Holly, you tell us about Lucie Blackman.
So, well, a horrible backstory to Lucie Blackman. It's a documentary on Netflix, and it's about the disappearance and death of Lucie Blackman, who was a 21-year-old British woman who was living at least temporarily in Tokyo. And whilst she was there, she worked as what was called a hostess, which is not, is not something, sort of derogatory. It was somebody who worked in special clubs where you would go and you would have nice conversations with people and have drinks together. And it was all very, I won't say innocent, but it was, perfectly reasonable. And off the back of this, people would also, the women who worked there would sometimes go and meet some of the patrons outside, might go for a meal or whatever. And at a point comes where Lucie disappears and is, off the face of the earth. No one can contact her, no one can find her. And it turns into a huge, missing persons hunt. They are, we know that, obviously that she was murdered, and it was all very, very awful. And the man responsible for it was a truly awful human being.
Could I just check? Is this a documentary or a TV show?
It's a documentary.
Okay, cool. On what platform did you see it?
Netflix.
Netflix, all right.
So it really drills into the details of this, absolutely tragic, horrific, murder by somebody who had a long track record of horrible, awful behavior. Though it's eye-wateringly painful, but it goes through in a very interesting way, interviewing the family, moving back and forth with some of the Japanese police officers, detectives who had done the investigation. And it was a really, really interesting, very good piece of viewing. It was well structured. It was obviously distressing. There's no way you can watch something like that and not be distressed by it. But it was quite interesting to have the insight into the police force of a different country and how they react, the different nuances that they'd had, the different ways of working. And when we're so used to either seeing things about the police in the US, both through a lens of, law and order and whatever else, and through the frequently, obviously, because it only hits the news when it's awful, some of the awful behaviour you see from the police in the US, and likewise in the UK, where a lot of the things that make the press are about some truly awful behaviour. To see but what we know of these things, to see this contrast and to sort of appreciate what happened, what the impacts it was, what the emotional impacts, the long-term life impacts the entire thing had on everybody involved, on her family, and then see it structured so well in a really compelling and thought-provoking fashion, but not tasteless, it wasn't celebrating or
if we're going to talk about things that we don't like, I mean, we've spoken at length about true crime and how we even had a section on our YouTube channel where we're just talking about true crime is exploitative, and how I talk about the fact that I feel like a lot of true crime is just kind of like, it's like gawping at a road accident. It's like instead of calling 999, it's just like going, oh, look at that, oh my God, and also glorifying the person who did the crime. And there are some of them that manage to elevate and tell you something else. It sounds like you're saying this is one of those ones that managed to elevate.
Very, very much so. It's thought-provoking. It was insightful. They managed the tragedy of it very well, the complexities of the investigation. It's how they got to where they did, the things that they learnt. It didn't feel exploitative. It didn't feel like it was a look, pretty blonde woman got murdered. It had depth. It gave you some insight, and I walked away thinking about it. And this goes back to, she was 21 and it was in about 2000-ish.
Right.
She's nearly the same age as I am.
Oh yeah. It would have been, yeah.
Quite insightful. So I would thoroughly recommend it.
Oh, okay.
And I think it's a firm 4-star.
4 stars. Okay, cool. Bang on time. Because obviously we dedicate quite a bit of time to Barbie. I need to move us along. So because I can see that Shaun's beginning to get that whole thing where he gets a bit antsy and gets ants in his pants and starts all like, fidgeting and everything like that.
Very, very fidgety.
Yeah, and Shaun gets that when he's watching a film he doesn't like. And if we are sat down here recording a podcast and Shaun is getting fidgety, that's like a sign of, okay, move on, people, move on. Enough about this pink. So, Shaun, I'm going to pass over to you.
That's right. I can generally do mine pretty quick, as you know.
Okay.
I'm sort of.
Yes, but Shaun, now we're going to go away from something pink and hand over to you for something red. And this is Insidious, the Red Door.
Insidious, the Red Door. Right, okay, let's see if we can remember it. So, you know me, with my horrors, I try to get horrors that are going to scare me, and I've
yes, you are one of those weird people, yes.
That doesn't like straight. Anyway, so basically this is a story. This is part of a franchise. Insidious has been around for a while. And so basically this story is the pardon?
I haven't seen any of them.
No, Same here. I have avoided them.
They sort of go into in the first one. They sort of go into a trance, an astral plane, and go into a different dimension that's not particularly nice with strange demons and things. But anyway, so this one they've actually this is a few years down the line, about 10 years down the line. But their memories have been suppressed. He's got an older son. The son's grown up and he's got all the teenage angst and. He's a bit of an artist and he goes off to university and he starts doing all these weird and basically it's like so it goes into the same thing where he does a picture, he does this painting of the red door, so he's got like a red door and that's where the red door comes in and then these things sort of start appear and start coming out and they start remembering things and they have to go back into that realm. So that's basically the story. The father has to go back into the realm to rescue the son, and then the son comes to sort of his senses, astroplaning, and does something to the painting. So yeah, it's pretty awful, really. It's pretty bad. So I mean, it's just like, oh, come on. I don't even know who the actor is in it. I should know because he's in all of them. And I think
Patrick Wilson.
Yeah, Michael Coulson and
Patrick Wilson.
Patrick Wilson, right? Yeah. Okay, Patrick Wilson. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know if that's all he does because I know he's been in some of the other. I get confused with the franchises between Insidious and
The Conjuring.
The other ones. Yeah.
There's Insidious, there's The Conjuring, and there is Sinister.
Sinister. Yeah. So they're all pretty much like cheap. I suppose they make a lot of money, so I mean that's why they keep churning them out.
Well, compared to the amount of money that they spent on them, they do make a lot of money. So they all come from a company called Blumhouse, where there's a guy called Jason Blum, and he is known for he essentially went, okay, we're going to make horror movies. We're going to keep the budget tight. And they focus a lot on up and coming filmmakers, and they focus a lot on the story and all that. So I hear a lot with the Insidious and Sinister films, even though I haven't seen them. People say that it's really about at least the early ones is about the story, and it was about something, and it was about the idea behind them. So, what was that, Holly?
Fantasy Island. That was.
Fantasy Island was terrible. That was another question we asked. We asked you what was the final film you saw before the lockdown hit, and mine was Fantasy Island. For like a year, I had Fantasy Island as represented cinema. That film sucked.
Can't wait for it to come back.
Oh, good Lord!
See the next one.
Sorry, but Shaun, carry on.
No, that's fine. I like the interaction. But yeah, so they are pretty awful films, to be fair. But they're cheap. You can see they're cheap. And I remember the first Insidious, and it was like this. Should we just say it was like Darth? This is how I'll explain the demon. Darth Maul sitting in a load of electric light bulbs. Just bizarre. I know that. I don't know if you can picture that at all. But yeah, so the demon thing is like Darth Maul, basically, and with just So on the whole, Toes, I know we need to move on. I can't really say much more than this, as though obviously it's going to make up money. But I think this one probably is the worst of them all, and it is really, really not very good. And it's only going to get a 2-star rating. So.
Okay. I have heard similar things.
Oh, good.
Oh, I'm remembering. Now I'm remembering our lockdown interviews, and I remember that Shaun, your final film that you saw was Bloodshot with Vin Diesel, and I remember thinking that we did not choose our final films before the cinemas locked down very well. Yeah. We did not choose this.
Honestly, can't remember what mine was. Honestly, can't remember.
I remember there were some people because I remember asking this question on like a forum on Facebook, and there were some people who said Parasite. That was the final film that they'd seen. And
Nice.
I was kind of like, oh, okay, cool. You have chosen wisely. Is what I had to say to those people. But maybe with me, Fantasy Island. But anyway, let us move on. And now we're going to go back to Netflix and Friends, and we are going to talk about Nimona. Now, this is it is an animated film on Netflix. And this film, one of the big things that has been spoken about this film is about the story of getting this film to the screen. Because Nimona was a film that was being made by 20th Century Fox, and then Disney took over 20th Century Fox. And when Disney took over 20th Century Fox, there was like a cull. There was that. We were complaining earlier about Disney doing the whole thing where they've taken a whole bunch of things off Disney Plus because they can, because they are those corporate overlords. Disney are those corporate overlords. And when they took over 20th Century Fox, there were just a whole bunch of stuff. They said, nope, not doing that anymore. Cancel it. There were some films that were almost finished, and they went, no, we're going to cancel it. And Nimona was one of those films where they said, we're going to cancel it. Sharon, you can switch off because it's animated. So just come back, switch back on in 5 minutes, go to your happy place. So, but Nimona is set in this world. It's set in this world where, imagine if you had ancient King Arthur's type England, but. So when you start off in that world, but then thousands of years later, this world has developed. So it still looks like ancient King Arthur style England. It still has, but imagine, that's exactly what it is. Imagine if you combined Camelot, King Arthur's Camelot, with Blade Runner. That's what this world looks like now. So they drive around on these sort of motorcycles that look like horses. They still have knights who protect the realm. They still have like a king, a queen, and all that kind of stuff. It's set around a guy called Ballister. Ballister is the main character, and he is someone who has come from. Usually you have the knights, and the knights come from, the landed gentry and all that. And they say, there's somebody called I can't remember what her name is, but this guy, he is a direct descendant of her. He's a direct descendant of her, and he's like, the best knight and everything like that. But you have Ballister, who's from the streets, and he's the first person who they've allowed in to train to be a knight of the realm, being from the streets. But at the beginning of the story, where they have this thing, this film has a quite a great sense of humor, and they have this thing called A Knight to Knight the Knights. Which is this big thing they do every year, where they knight all the knights, say, you have passed, and now you shall be a knight of the realm, and all that sort of stuff. Something goes wrong at the Knight to Knight the Knights, and Ballister becomes public enemy number one, and he becomes a fugitive, where everybody's looking for him and saying, we need to catch Ballister. Nimona happens to be this because they have this whole world. The whole idea behind it is that they live in this gated community, and this gated community is supposed to protect them from the monsters. And they keep saying the monsters are out there. Don't leave the walls because the monsters are out there. You've got to stop from the monsters. And Nimona shows up, and she is what they would call a monster. She's a shapeshifter, and she decides, for reasons that you find out later, she decides Ballister, he's a bad guy. I'm going to become his sidekick. and so she tracks this guy down and says, right, that's it, you're a bad guy. He's like, I'm not a bad guy. It's a misunderstanding. And she's like, nope, I'm going to be a sidekick. And it's all about what carries it's this anarchic, crazy, great kind of thing with Nimona voiced by Chloe Grace Moretz. And Nimona is a brilliant character, because almost everything she says is like hilarious. It goes off in one direction or another. There are some. It's obviously a film that's supposed to be made about otherness, and it's supposed to be made about people who are put outside of how a society can come together and decide that this person is outside, this person is not desirable, and through no fault of that person. It just say like, this person is not desirable, and it can be taken as an allegory for race, an allegory for sexuality, an allegory for gender. It could be taken as a whole bunch of those different things, and you can see why Disney canceled it, because they canceled it, and then eventually Annapurna, a TV, managed to get it off Disney's hands, resurrect it, and put it onto Netflix. I'm quite happy that they did, because I think this is very, very good. But it is also, it's almost like an anti-fairy tale. It's like you have all the things that happen in a fairy tale, and Nimona sort of resolutely refuses to do any of those things. So I think it's really, really good. I would recommend watching it, even if you hate animation. Sharon, come back to us. Even if you hate it, I would recommend watching Nimona on Netflix. I would give it a 4 out of 5 stars. It's something the whole family can watch together. My 2.5-year-old daughter has been watching it on loop pretty much. It's been between that and Encanto, and she's sort of like watching, going, Nimona, we want to watch Nimona, and all that. So yeah, I think it has some good messages. It has some good things to think about. Some of it I think is a bit simplistic. Like there's a bit where they have a go at somebody for asking small-minded questions, and quite frankly, I didn't think those questions were small-minded. I thought that they were actually valid questions when you come across something you've never seen before. When you come across something that questions everything about what you thought the world was. I think some of those questions might be valid, but I think I'm in a minority on that. Oh, well, anyway. So yeah, Nimona, 4 stars for Nimona. And now we shall move on to the film that we were talking about, Talk to Me. So yeah, Shaun, this I'm going to be intrigued by, because the things I've heard about Talk to Me is Australian horror movie. I've heard Australian horror movie, and I have heard that people are raving about this a little bit in the way they raved about something like Hereditary or Midsommar. Mm-hmm. And I know that whenever that happens, whenever people rave about a horror movie, I usually come to Shaun. To cut them down to size. And if Shaun backs up the hype, then it's worthy of hype. And I might actually watch this horror movie. But Shaun, tell us about this.
Okay, so Talk to Me. This is basically, it's like teams. There's this hand thing which is in the trailer, which if they grab hold of it, they can talk to people in the spiritual world. They can, and that's where you get the Talk to Me. And then they can actually, if they want to, they can say, do you want to join me? And then people can get possessed by whatever person it is for. But the teams are like, no more than 90 seconds. Otherwise, you get stuck with this entity or spirit or whatever you want to do. But so that's basically, there's this girl and a group of friends. So this girl, she's lost her mother for a couple of years, and she's quite traumatized by the whole thing. So she decides, she's at a party with her friends and that, and some people have had a go, and they go, whoa, that was a rush. That was. She decides that she's going to have a go. So, and then she says, talk. They hold this hand. She goes, talk to me. And this one says, oh, we like him. And then they say, oh, stop. And so they decide they want to do it again. They decide, because it's quite a rush apparently. And there's this young boy of her friend, her best friend, has got like a adolescent boy, and he just happens to go out, and she's supposed to be looking after him, and he's like, I want to have a go, and he's saying, no, you can't. And anyway, she concedes, and let's just say it all goes sort of fairly pear-shaped since then.
Let's just say it's a horror movie. What else did you expect?
It's a horror movie. What else do you expect? Yeah. So that particular scene was quite, whoa. That was a bit
okay.
Wow. Okay. Quite surprising. Quite interesting, that particular scene. And then so. Basically, what I'm saying is, like, she keeps thinking this girl's mother's lost. She keeps saying she thinks her mother. She keeps thinking, and her mother sort of tells her to do things. Yeah. She sort of tells her to do things, and because it's her mother and she thinks it's her mother, she wants to keep going on. But obviously, it's some sort of particularly not very nice entity that's obviously using. So that's basically the story. Anyway, it's a horror film. Yeah, it's quite. I wasn't scared. It didn't scare me or anything like that, and it wasn't jumpy or anything like that. But I thought it was quite interesting. It was quite an interesting, and especially there was a good little twist at the end, which I quite liked. I thought that was quite good, but it didn't scare me. I wasn't scared, and I mean, okay, so yeah, there was a few violent bits in it.
Shaun, everything that you're saying so far has already made this into the upper echelons of horror movies. Because I think they made a decent effort, and I did think it was quite. Some of the things was quite feasible. You know what I mean? Not that I believe in possession and all that sort of stuff, but it was the way it was done. I thought was fairly clever and fairly well thought out, and it was quite atmospheric. And as I say, there were a couple of scenes in it which I thought were particularly good.
the ending towards the end, I don't know so much. It sort of tailed off towards the end, but it did have moments, and I can see why. I could see people would like this. It was far superior to Insidious or any of those others. So.
I did watch the first 20 minutes of this film with.
Yeah, I don't know if I didn't know if I wasn't going to say anything, Sharon, but I mean,
this was a secret screening that we both went along to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we've been to the secret screenings before, and basically, as soon as the credits come up, a lot of people get up and leave. As soon as it says it's like horror scenes of blah 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 blah, they go. So you have that instant sort of departure of a lot of people. And I thought, no, I'll stick it out for the first bit to see what this turns into, because I don't mind weird, and I don't mind sort of what I call like classic horror, sort of zombies, werewolves, vampires. I don't mind that sort of horror at all, but I'm not keen on sort of torture porn horror, and I'm not keen on sort of ghosty stuff. So I thought, well, I'll stick it out and see what happens. And then they started getting to the bit when they were doing like the seances, and they were getting
I could see
that whole possession bit, and I was just like,
I felt you were staying for me, really. I felt you were staying for me, which I appreciated.
Yeah, so I did stay, and we did have this quick, are you uncomfortable? Yes, I am. Okay, I'll stay. Okay, I'll go. I sneaked out at that point because I was not comfortable watching the whole the whole demon possession thing. It was not my thing.
Yeah, well, I think that to me that says that they've done something effective. They've done something effective that's effectively creepy enough for you to make you go, no, not for me, goodbye. As opposed to, what a bunch of nonsense. So
I'm not into that occult aspect of stuff. So I was thinking, to me, it was sort of a bit too much of the occult in there, and I just thought, no, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, there wasn't really any. There wasn't any, like, normally sometimes you can get in those sort of things. There's always like a good presence as well as the evil stuff.
Yeah.
There was no good in this. No good at all. There was no like nice presence.
It's just there's bad supernatural stuff, and the humans are on their own. The teens are on their own.
Much.
So how many stars would you give this?
Okay, well, I'm going to give this. It's not. I don't think it's. I'm going to give this one a 3 because I won't say I hated it. I won't say it was. And I could see where it was going, and I thought it was quite clever, and there's a lot more thought put into it than a lot of these other ones that are just made for schlock horror, scary, trying to make some money. So
I'm intrigued to know, though, because you mentioned people have compared it to Midsummer, and I did see Midsummer.
Nothing like
compare it to that at all? No.
It wasn't. I was saying that it's the kind of buzz,
indie buzz about it.
The indie buzz about it. They're saying that, oh, this is a new voice. This is a new voice in the because I think it's directed by two twin Australian brothers from the name I'm guessing of Greek descent, Danny and George Philippou. I think it is.
Okay, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So all right, cool. So 3 stars for Tosin.
Yeah, I think this will be popular with certain people, and I could see why it's probably getting some decent. It's the best of that sort of bunch. Doesn't really, it wasn't, but it made a good effort.
I think
Holly might be scared. Do you watch horror films, Holly?
I do, and I'm usually terrified of them. But
you might not like this one then.
Often hiding behind something. But then Hereditary, people said, was scary, and I was just like, this is
Hereditary was pants. I think I reviewed that one.
Rubbish.
But there is a bit in it where they go, which they like you, which was quite interesting.
So also Midsummer, I thought was fairly meh. Good cast.
No, it was class. Midsummer. Like the Wicker Man.
Leave it. I was like, nah.
I went online,
but then I'm a huge fan of Florence Pugh, aren't I?
Which is why it's weird that I don't like her. I think she's fantastic.
I went on Wikipedia and read what happens in both of them because I decided not watching it. So
I did see Midsummer. I haven't seen Hereditary.
So Ari Aster,
liked Midsummer.
Yeah,
Ari Aster, haven't seen any of your stuff. I might see Beau is Afraid, even though that sounds weird and deliberately sort of like hard to get. But speaking about, when the card shows up at the beginning of films and says, contains scenes of blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I went to say the other day when I reviewed No Hard Feelings, I saw that in the cinema and it came up at the beginning and it says contains crude language, brief nudity, and there were these 2 older ladies who were probably around about between 60 and 70, sat beside me, and one of them leaned over to the other one. When he said contains crude language, nudity, and all that, she went, "Oh, right up my street."
I think you'd be surprised what a few 60-year-olds.
Just the way she said it, I was just kind of like, okay, cool. I'm having a good time already in this film. All right, cool. And now we go over to our final thing on cinema, and I believe this is on YouTube. Shaun has been diving into YouTube so much that he might become our YouTube correspondent. And you have been finding yourself a whole bunch of Elvis movies, haven't you?
Yeah, I have. Well, only one. No, it was on Sky actually.
It was on Sky. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Sky. Yeah, it was on Sky. I actually started to see this. You probably could get on YouTube, and yeah, this is King Creole. And I mean,
Sharon, you have seen King Creole?
Yeah, I've seen most of Elvis's films actually.
Have you? Oh, brilliant.
We did discuss it. They did put a little poll out on our WhatsApp group. I didn't get a chance to answer because I've been in and out all day today. Yeah. But it does. Have anyone seen any Elvis films? I think I've seen nearly all of them.
Oh, that's good.
I've seen quite a few. Yeah, but anyway, so.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's cool. That's brilliant. If you see most of them, so you've obviously seen this as well, Sharon, which is great.
Because, I've seen one. Yeah, one of his better ones, his early ones.
Yeah,
when he was
I started
acting.
to watch it, and it's a black and white, and I think it's based on a book. And if I know Sharon, she's probably read that book, but whatever.
I might have done.
yeah. Anyway, so this is like Elvis is a bit of a high school dropout. He's failed at school. His dad's gone bankrupt before, and but he wants to finish school. And then Elvis mixes with a bad bunch of people for a short while, but deep down he's a good guy. But then he gets a chance to obviously perform and becomes quite popular, and then it gets a bit gangstery and what have you. And yeah, so it is really, really atmospheric, and there's not too much singing in it, really, is there? And it's a bit like a film noir, a little bit of a
in his early films. They weren't just musicals to showcase his talent. He was genuinely wanted to act.
He really wanted to be a good actor. I think there's evidence that he was actually a good actor if they would have let him act. But after a while, they just wouldn't let him.
Yeah, that's it. I think he must have been easily manipulated, don't you think so, Elvis, as a person, really? Pretty much.
Well, I mean, obviously there's the Baz Luhrmann film and all that kind of stuff, and there's stuff about him with the relationship between Colonel Tom Parker. But I think it's a typical thing, and this happens a lot because I'm a tennis fan, and you have a lot of tennis players who become famous really, really young. They become famous really, really young, and then once they become famous, there are cases where the vultures just descend. And those people, when they become famous very young, everything gets done for them. They get told what to do, and they don't really get to develop that whole "how do I do things myself" thing. And I think with Elvis, I mean, quite frankly, I think it happened with Michael Jackson. I think it happened with Elvis. So I think that there might have been times when he was just kind of like told, "Oh, don't worry, you're a pretty little head about this. We'll sort it out." And But anyway, sorry, King Creole.
But, I mean, yeah. But this was quite good as a film. I think this was quite as a film. It was fairly good. It wasn't like a musical. I didn't think, and there was some good performances. Walter Matthau was an early performance, and he was really good at it. Dean Jagger, another actor that I think is quite good. And yeah, no, I found myself thinking, well, this isn't too bad at all. This is not a bad movie, because it just happened to be on. It just happened to be on where I was, and I started sort of watch the beginning, and I thought, and one of those films, I thought, I'm going to finish this now.
Yeah.
Because
what were you going to say, Holly? You were going to say something.
Yeah, there's been said somewhere that people sort of freeze at the point at which they become famous, and they don't really grow as a person beyond that point. And Michael Jackson was 5?
Oh, good Lord.
And that explains a lot if you think of it in those terms.
Yeah.
That people sort of freeze at the point where they lose that sort of, that
the development.
Yeah. So you suddenly, as you say, everyone descends, and you no longer need to evolve as a person. So Elvis got to stop evolving.
He was that teenage heartthrob, so that was always all they were ever going to allow him to be.
Yeah.
When he became famous, frozen in time.
Yeah. That's interesting, isn't it? An interesting theory. But yeah, I think if you that is an interesting point, actually. When you think of his later films that he did, where he'd basically just given up, and it was like, playing it by number. Those are like films by numbers.
Yeah.
It was just one musical number after another, and with the storyline was just like.
The storyline was like, how many times are we going to get Elvis to sing? Oh,
yeah. He clipped me round the ear in his Las Vegas gear when I was 3. Yeah. Anyway, never mind. No, that's from a song.
If you look at King Creole, I think it's a good film because if you set it within that context of 50s films of its type, it does sit in well with those sort of type of, where with the James Deans and the early sort of Marlon Brandos.
Yeah.
He was destined, probably, if he'd been allowed to act, he would have been within that.
Yeah, it would have been.
Sort of his films would have been regarded in the same way as we look at, not quite On the Waterfront, but you'd look at him certainly in the same way as you look at James Dean films.
That was Elvis. I could have been a contender if they let me act.
Yeah. But I think if you look at those, there's only a particular type of. They only sort of lasted for a short period. It wasn't the whole of the 50s. Sort of like about that sort of mid 53 to like 57. You had these sort of core of really gritty, intense films. Because I love films of the 50s.
Yeah.
I really sort of like that sort of look about it, and I like the sort of the aesthetics of it. Even the American ones and the British ones. There's some British 50s films that whole still rationing post-war. It's a different vibe altogether, but I do love that sort of 50s vibe. And I think we were denied sort of something quite special. I think when we lost him as an actor, and we just had him as a singer. Really.
Yeah. Because I mean, he did show potential in this movie, didn't he? He did show potential in this film.
Yeah.
So,
there's like only 2 or 3 where you think, yes, this is a good film.
Well, I think Jailhouse Rock.
They're fun.
Jailhouse Rock is definitely on that list for me. Jailhouse Rock.
I'll tell you what's quite interesting though. I've been watching lots of trailers from Hell. There's a thing on YouTube called Trailers from Hell where you've got all these famous directors, Edgar Wright, Scorsese, and they're all talking about films.
Yeah.
And nearly all of those directors, one about years of film, nearly all of them say that the 1970s was the best era for Hollywood films.
Sean just had to get that in there.
I just had to get
that in there. If he could live in a decade of films, it would be the 1970s.
1970s, yeah. It gets much maligned, and yet
I don't think it gets maligned at all. I think it's the other way. I think if the 1970s gets maligned, it is because it's a very hipstery thing to wax on and go on about the films of the 70s, and oh my god, when Jack Nicholson was really showing a young Jack Nicholson was showing his craft and showing exactly what he was all about. It's a very kind of that kind of thing. People in tight jeans talking in cafes in Camden. So,
and I think like of an age, you can generally tell the directors of the films, like with the music that they use and whatever influence at the time. So I guess a lot of directors that have done their journey, have done their thing. It's amazing how many of them were influenced by some of the films from the 70s.
Okay, so Shaun, before we carry on and talk, King Creole, how many stars would you give it?
3 stars. 3 stars. Yeah.
3 stars for King Creole. Sean's foray into Elvis stuff. I would say
I probably would have given it a 4 star.
Okay. Yeah.
Because that's sort of. I like that look.
Yeah, but I think if you like that, I would say Jailhouse Rock. Jailhouse Rock is also a very good film. Has a similar kind of thing of like, boy gets into the background. But the difference is that with that one, he kind of ends up becoming Elvis.
Does he turns into Elvis?
It kind of like he starts off like this kid from the thing who gets into a background, and then they find out that he's good with a guitar and then he ends up becoming Elvis. There's almost like a Colonel Tom Parker character in that film.
There is.
Is Kid Galahad, is that also an Elvis film?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Because I had the thing in there because there's one in which I remember that he is playing a soldier, because after a while this film started being a
few soldier ones.
Yeah, there were soldier ones, and there were some of them that were very lazily set in Hawaii.
Oh yeah, there's like GI Blues, and there was sort of like the GI Hawaii something or other. There's a few of those.
There's Blue something or other. Blue Hawaii? No,
Blue Hawaii.
Yeah.
The other film I've seen of his was, and that was a while ago, I think it's called Love Me Tender, and it's a western.
Yes. Love Me Tender.
They're like brothers, and they favourites. I've seen that one, but I've watched that probably because of western, and I've seen clips obviously over the years of some of the other, but I've never actually watched it.
There's Viva Las Vegas. There's Girls, Girls.
I love Viva Las Vegas. Yeah, Elvis and Margaret. I really, really like Viva Las Vegas.
Margaret doing her dancing with her. I always think they're like the 50s pants.
Yes.
They sort of like, all these dances, they turn up with like an orange cardigan and these sort of black pants on.
I know.
Must be a
and not some of those 60s, like the Las Vegas
early
ones,
60s. Viva Las Vegas is early 60s, yeah.
Yeah, that's when it goes into color. Right, so, question. Who do you think has won this week? Netflix or cinema?
Netflix.
Yeah, it's not even a fight. It's not even after the glory of Barbenheimer last week, we are brought back smashing down to earth. And Netflix has won this week. And just wanted to say that we talk about people getting in touch with us and everything, and we do want people to get in touch with us. We want people to get in touch with us on YouTube, on Netflix via Cinema, on Twitter or whatever it is it's called now. Yeah, it's like, we're still Netflix via Cinema on there. Just let us know what you did. And somebody who is called Coolie Pie. Coolie Pie is their name on YouTube. And this is what we took. This is the kind of show that we are. Even if we wholeheartedly do not agree with you, we will still read out what you tell us. So this person came up and said on our review of The Flash, Shaun, get this out. The Flash was 12 out of 10. Absolutely incredible. Loved it.
Oh wow.
And I'm just thinking,
no count for taste.
Yeah, I'm just kind of no. I'm like Coolie Pie. I am happy for you. I think that in the way the world is,
great.
Yeah, exactly. If you love something, fine. I do not understand it. I do not agree. I do not see any way in which that is true. But if you love it and if you're enjoying it, that is great. A bit like the lady, or I think it was a lady or the person who seemed to make it her, when we spoke about Persuasion, made it her job to go around every negative review of Persuasion on YouTube and say, I liked it. And I just kept seeing this name pop up in all these different places. I'm like, look.
That's dedication. It's commitment.
It's dedication, it's commitment. I do not understand it, but if that's what you say, I'm happy that you're enjoying it, but I do not agree.
You liked it. Cool.
You liked it, yeah.
Yeah, so
I've got to say, there's Sharon. First of all, I'm off in Spain Saturday. I'm going to Spain on Saturday, so I won't. And I get back on the 12th. But on the 13th, there is the first X film I ever saw when I was 13 years old. It is the 50th anniversary of Enter the Dragon, and it's showing on Sunday the 13th at Screen 2, Sharon. So if you want to come see that.
I do like Enter the Dragon.
I'm like there. I'm like, oh yes. I've shot Mr. Roper.
The cinema might be too good a chance to miss, even though I don't generally go out to the cinema on a Sunday. It tends to be one of our rules that we don't do that sort of thing.
But the thing is with this was the first X film that I saw. I was 13 years old. I pleaded with my dad because everyone had gone out. I pleaded with my dad to take me. So I basically stood out the end, and he bought 2 tickets, and we went in. And I got in, and it was that's when the cinemas were really big, and they were like huge. And anyway, I was sat there. It was the ABC in Westover, Bournemouth, and they had a film on before which was called Black Belt Jones with Jim Kelly, and there was quite a lot of nudity in it. And I can always fondly remember my dad looking down and thinking, whoa, I'm like the 30-year-old boy seeing these boobies and stuff. And so I remember that real fondly, and it's just like, wow, that was so I mean, that's one of my top films.
Well, it's one of these weird things, right? Because Enter the Dragon is one of those films that I saw quite young. I saw quite because everyone was talking about this film, and you saw it quite young, and you didn't really. It's one of those things that when I go back and watch it now, I'm like, whoa! I don't remember seeing this when I was 5. I don't remember that naked woman. I don't remember all those guts coming out of there. Are you sure this is the same film? Because I don't remember any of this. It's funny how
you just remember the last 10 minutes, really.
Exactly. It's when you have this sort of like youthful filter in your mind that just says, I don't remember that, don't remember that, don't remember. It's like how The Blues Brothers is my favorite film, and I never realized until I was about 25 that there was a whole bunch of swearing in the film. Never noticed.
Never heard it.
Funny, isn't it?
I've never seen Blues Brothers.
Oh, no, that's no problem. Holly, you have a treat ahead of you. You have a treat ahead of you. You can either watch it on Netflix or I can send you my DVD copy because that's one I'm keeping before somebody deletes it from somewhere.
I no longer have I don't have easy access to a DVD player. I do have one tucked away somewhere. I can find a workaround. And I will say no more before, I get arrested by Universal, I think, who have the rights to Blues Brothers. Anyway, it doesn't happen. It's not a thing.
Anyway, John from PwC, I hope it is PwC, right?
It is.
John from PwC, I hope that was enough Barbie for you. And if it wasn't, just go to the cinema and watch the thing. I know people in your family don't want to go see it with you, but go anyway.
Yeah, go watch it.
Go watch it.
Surprise them.
Until next week, when we will not have a Shaun and we will see some stuff that I'm not even sure what it is.
I think there's one that I'm intrigued with called and I see that's out. I think out the weekend called The Blackening or something.
The Blackening, yes.
Yeah, that looks quite intriguing. So I think that's out Friday.
The Blackening. I might try and watch that. I mean, I was trying to watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but they do not have that on at any reasonable time. The last showing of that is at 5 p.m. I'm like, yeah, I know. So yeah,
you don't work. You go to see this?
Yeah, I might go see The Blackening, and I'll see if my theory that the best joke in the film might be the poster is whether it holds up or not. All right, cool. Until that time, it's a goodbye from me,
and it's a goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
Thank you ever so much for joining us. Goodbye.